Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. Boom. And today, we have the queen of the clarinet, Cathy, Ogram. And we're going to kick off today with a little song called Classical Gas. That's Oj. Wow. Are you ready, folks? Looks like we've got someone really talented on this week. I'm scared. Hey, all going? I'm Jade. This is How to App on iOS. It's Friday here in Australia, and I'm all pumped up and ready to go. A bit sore in time because yesterday I was out filming Walk With Me, and boy, folks, have I filmed something rad for you to watch this week. I went for a walk to a place to find a bushranger, to find Ned Kelly, the suit of armour of Ned Kelly, and where he was caught and where he was hung to death. Joe and Barry Glenn, you're going to love this week's episode. It was in the rain. It's going to be happening this Sunday. For those of you in the US and UK, you're going to love Walk With Me this week. I had so much fun filming it. I'm just so knackered today, absolutely brutalised. But welcome aboard. You know the deal. I will say hello and do all that jazz to you all in the first half an hour. We'll come back and say hi to you all because we got to get our special guest on today. Now, this person has been on my list for a long time, and I was a bit scared, because she's super, super talented. And I kind of wonder, how the hell did she find us all here on YouTube, us bunch of motley weirdos making music? But she's here now, and we're going to bring her on and have a chat. She is an amazing clarinetist, and just can't wait to find out all about what she's about and what she's done and where she's going. So let's, without further ado, bring her on, make sure everything's set up here and get some applause going. Yes, there's the applause. Ladies and gentlemen, Cathy, hey, Ogram. Hello, how you going?
Good.
Tell us about that song there, because I see stuff like that and just, awe-inspired. Like, I love talented musicians who know what they're playing.
Thanks so much. Well, so classical gas is kind of where I began as far as shooting videos. That's one of the first I ever did. And it's one of the first arrangements I ever did. And sorry about I know the lighting was a little sketchy on that one. We hadn't quite figured out the lighting of the recital hall yet.
It looked great, sounded great.
Okay, well, so I've been obsessed with classical gas. I love that piece since I was a kid. It's really old. It's dated. It is kind of the sound of the 60s to me. Anybody who lived at that time, a lot of people here might not have lived during that time, but will know that piece. And I know I have guitarists in the chat today, and this is a guitar piece. And so when I took it on, because I just have loved it for so long, I've never really read guitar notation before. And I had to kind of deconstruct it to put it for 4 clarinets. And it was difficult for me. A little bit of history of the piece, Mason Williams, the guy that wrote it, he was a writer. And when I say writer, I mean like comedy writer, whatever. On some of the shows of the late 60s, like the Smothers Brothers, Glenn Campbell, Saturday Night Live. And in fact, probably one of the best versions of this tune, besides Mason Williams himself, Glenn Campbell, off the charts. He was just such an amazing musician and guitarist. So if you're a fan of this tune, check out Glenn Campbell doing it. And anyway, the Smothers Brothers asked him to do, they knew he was a guitarist, asked him if he wanted to do something of his pieces. He picked this. It was premiered on the show. And then it just took off like wildfire, millions in sales, and it became the sound of the 60s. So I've been obsessed with that piece forever. And I also, what had happened was I was working at the university, and my boss there had given everybody in our department a new iPad mini.
Good.
So, it was the universities, but I had it. And somebody showed me like how you could record on it. And then I saw that you could go right to Facebook. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do this. I was only on Facebook at that time. So I did some, early videos like this. They're not that good. They're not sophisticated. They're not titled. There's not a thumbnail. There's nothing. I recorded the pieces, hit the upload to Facebook. And really nobody was doing that at the time. This is maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I also wanted to like rock out the clarinet world. Like we hear mostly classical music, we hear jazz pieces, but we don't hear clarinetists doing rock stuff. So I thought, oh, I'm going to rock the clarinet world and write all these rock pieces. And I did a whole bunch. And then I took them to do them at conferences. Like the International Clarinet Association has a lot to do with what I do too. I'm a member there for years. I'm a state chair for the organization. And so we actually did get to do classical gas and Stairway to Heaven and some of my other arrangements for conferences, but they had a lukewarm reception. And so I didn't keep on the rock route at that time, but so this piece represents everything I just said.
Now, you touch on iPads in schools, and we're gonna definitely touch on this later on in the show about, now you're involved in education. I read some statistics. I forget who it was yesterday that I forget who it was now. God, I wish I could remember. They said that when they used to give out homework to students, the return rate was always very, very low. I forget the percentage. It was quite low. But since giving students iPads, the return rate has skyrocketed to something like 93%. Have iPads impacted in your experiences from teaching?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And also because iPads have a feature where they can look at the music they're studying. Because kids are not like when we grew up or when I grew up, where we had physical paper music. These kids want to read it off of their iPads and
Yeah.
swipe the music, and that's the most way they practice. And when they want to practice a difficult passage, expand it. That's how they operate. They're not like paper and pencil people.
No, when I can speak for this, when I was a kid and I was at school, I was thinking about lunchtime, going out and getting a stick and pretending to be a machine gun and shooting people. But now kids are thinking outside of school of, I want my iPad. So what a great way to introduce it, put it in their hand, and hey, kids are engaging with it. If it's going to help people learn, then obviously, and people, there's two sides of it, really, isn't there? Because we've got a whole world now staring at screens, which can't be good for eyes. I'm guessing there's going to be more of us that are going to be blind or wearing glasses like us earlier in their years from staring at devices. But at the same time, people are learning more and being more engaged. So there's always good and bad with these. There's always a trade-off, isn't there?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
So I'll hit you with the first question I bang everybody with, and that didn't sound right the way they came. I'll bang everybody with this one. Cathy, what does music mean to you?
Wow. I just feel like I was just born and bred to do what I do. I mean, from the second I ever picked up a clarinet, I was obsessed. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I grew up around the most amazing teachers. So I had seriously good instruction at a really young age. And, they loved me too, because I was so into it. So it's just been kind of my identity forever. And I still feel like, I'm going to save the clarinet planet. I'm preaching the gospel of good music and good clarinetistry. That's just how I am all the time, 24/7.
I love here that Kubrick Lover said, hey, I can finally hear your voice, Cathy. And it's interesting too. I get excited over that too when I have somebody on the show, because you get to know somebody by what they play, their instrument, and especially if they're not singing. And to actually, when you came on the call today, I was like, I'm always surprised. I always have an image of what somebody's going to sound like. And for some reason, I didn't expect an American accent. I don't know why. My brain was like that. But here we are.
We don't have an accent. You have an accent.
Right. True. We have the worst accent on the planet. It is the worst. So let's talk about this. Do you recall the music that was played in your household by your family when you were growing up? Who were some of these artists on the radio around you, or record players, and have they influenced you?
Oh, definitely. Well, classical gas would represent sort of easy listening music kind of channel, but my dad ran any music that happened in our house, and big band music to a large degree. My parents they were really good swing dancers, and they loved big band music. So I grew up around Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller and all that kind of thing. Every Sunday at my house was the Lawrence Welk Show. And so again, more or less big band music, but also show tunes, everything. So I grew up on that type of music. And when that wasn't on, it was, remember in the 60s and 70s, those easy listening channels, what was it, the Henry Mancini Orchestra, and they would take all kinds of music and turn it orchestral and, elevator music and that kind of thing, but great pieces. And that's how my house sounded growing up. There was always music on, but mostly big band type of things or easy listening.
Is big band still, is it something, I mean, it's interesting because, now I hear you here with all this. So I sometimes think, I remember when I first saw you on Hippie's channel and I heard your music and stuff, I'm like, how the bloody hell did you find us all over here on a channel called Metalhead Hippie? And I'm thinking, and then one of my songs comes up, you know, like FMC or some stupid thing that's so metal and childish. I'm like, your brain must be exploding over this, going, what the hell have I walked into? Or is it like that you have just, you have such a broad taste of music?
I do have a broad taste of music, but I can tell you how I wound up in the rock, more or less rock community over on YouTube. My YouTube channel and what I do can't be discussed without discussing a little bit, at least, about my friendship with Mark Wade. I know Mark from the clarinet conferences, the International Clarinet Association. Although Mark's not a clarinetist, his company has been at those events for decades. Mark and I crossed paths for years, but it was more right around the time I was doing classical gas and some of these different things that we actually started talking and hanging out a little bit. And he shared a little bit about his YouTube journey. I was blown away. I mean, I just knew him as a businessman. I didn't know that he was a rock star in the background. I mean, I just knew him from his company as a businessman in New York. And then he encouraged me. So I had begun already uploading these pieces to Facebook via my little iPad mini and recording. And I was really into it. And I was doing it all the time and dragging my friends to do this and everything. And so he's the one to say to me, why don't you, upload your stuff to YouTube? And I had at that time like jacked up my account and lost my password and whatever. So he helped me straighten all that out. And then I began uploading everything I had done to that point to YouTube. So there's how it started. And then, I just kept going. Then it was, Mark got on the Metalhead Hippie show 2-3 years ago, I would say. I'm not sure exactly. And I knew he was doing that and he was really excited about it. And then that's how Mark asked me to do a piece with him, a rock piece. I haven't done that much rock music outside of my own arrangements. And we were on the Metalhead Hippie show. And then I just stayed. The community was so welcoming. And there's so many great musicians on that show. I was blown away. And I love rock music. I love rocking out. And I just fell in love with the community. And, I owed Jeff a gigantic thing. I was so nervous. I'm like, Jeff's not going to want some classical clarinetist on his show, but it wasn't like that. And then eventually that gravitated over to Thomas Christ. And I remember the first time I sent something into Thomas and I'm like, do you think you would consider having a clarinetist on your show? And, he was, again, very welcoming and everybody was so cool. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they like my music.
It's interesting, because people find Jeff and they probably see. I remember, I've said this many times. The first time I found Jeff, and there was this guy with long hair mumbling slightly into the microphone in a dark room with a huge mural behind him. And I'm like, it must be metal over here. But over time, you find out that he has a very broad love of music. And I see when he plays your music, he gets a little twinkle in his eye. He gets a little bit excited. He does. He loves your music, and we all love your music. So I think that's what makes the music across all of these communities, that it is broad and it is different. And because for myself, coming from a metal background, I grew up with a lot of friends around me who were like, it's either metal or nothing. And for the longest time, I was always like, why? Why does it always have to be metal or nothing? And then as soon as I started branching out and breaking away from that stupid belief, you start to understand, like you said, how classical gas was a guitar piece. Things like many different genres can be implemented into many different genres. Heavy metal borrows from so many different places, from classical, from all these places. It's so silly to stay narrow-minded and down one path. It only limits your abilities. What's your opinion on cross genres and stuff like that for your abilities and learning and progressing?
Oh, I'm way into that. Well, I grew up classically trained. Then I had a career as a military musician which we did. It was kind of like the Lawrence Welk show as far as all kind of different genres. So I played pretty much everything, but it was still weighted more heavily classical in that job. And, and I, with that job, I was on concert tour 22 years, living off a bus, flying around the world. We toured everywhere. So, but there was kind of a pent up rocker in me, I think. But when I retired, and I was still doing mostly classical music, but I was wanting to branch out, and I would hear other genres and really feel like I wanted to do other things. And it was after I moved where I am now in Virginia. And so I really have enough for my taste of teaching the standard repertoire, Mozart, Brahms, all those kind of things I grew up on, that so I teach a lot of that, to my kids, because they need that basic background, especially if they want to get into college. This is expected of them. But I teach so much of that I had the, what I want to say, I could branch out more because I didn't feel like I needed to keep up with that because it's already being kept up on its own, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And so I began branching out, and first came these rock tunes. And then I really fell in love with New Age music. I mean, I really have the heart of a New Ager. So I have done some New Age music, and especially like when we talk about the next piece coming up, if y'all remember a YouTube channel, Lazy Pixel, Sebastian Brunner, and he's a New Age artist. And he was one of the first people to ask me to do something with him. And I'd never done anything like that. And he sent me this set of chords, and not like what I learned in music theory. and I'm listening to him, and it's like, wait, I have to create my own part. So although I'm not that improvisatory, I did have to do those. And I would have put some of those on this show, other than I really didn't know what I was doing as far as recording my audio, and my audio is really low on those, and they're just hard to listen to, but they're actually very good. So there's where I first did some New Age music with Sebastian Brunner. And then when I did River Flows in Me, which is coming up too, another New Age piece. So I really loved New Age stuff. And then last year, I have music that I've accumulated over the years that I've never really gotten a chance to do. And they were jazz pieces written for jazz superstar Eddie Daniels. And I had these pieces, and they came with jazz backing tracks, and I'm delved into that. I had a lot to learn as far as style on those, but I studied, when I wasn't recording, I was studying Eddie Daniels. And then also these tangos I've been doing, again, jazz giant. He's Australian, Andy Firth. He's a super famous jazz clarinetist.
Firth is a god.
A god.
Yes.
And he and I are friends. So I recorded some of
Really?
Andy Firth.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're pretty good friends.
Wow.
He's taught me a lot too. Style wise, sometimes he'll just drop into Messenger to tell me, you need to use more do, and you're doing your eighth note. Then our conversations are like, and then I'll ask him about vibrato because I don't feel like you can hear it, and he'll be like, yeah, you need to use a lot heavier vibrato. But he's on Facebook. He's on my channel. I feature his stuff a lot. And also he sends me pieces too to do. I can't even keep up with him. But if you watch his channel, he is so prolific. Like there'll be a Monday morning, it'll be Andy Firth's page will look like, well, here's a recording I did. I wrote a new, clarinet sonata this weekend, and I wrote an entire album for sax quartet and a piano sonata. So I'm just finishing up, he's like, what do you call it when you're, making them for publication and all that. He's that kind of prolific. He writes like 30 pieces at a time. He's a freak.
Yeah, absolutely. Utter freak.
There's a thing. You showed him.
Yeah. There's his website. And so andyfirthmusic.com. So if you guys want to go check that out. We're going to change things up a little bit because we got a special treat for you. We got a song that goes for a while. Do you want to tell us about this now? Tell us about this track before I play it, and then we'll come back and say hello to everybody.
Yes, I'd love to do that. Okay, the next one up, alt.music.ballistics. This was during that time frame after my first little introduction to the YouTube world with my iPad mini and all that. The basic track of this was when I was getting my master's degree, which was in this town not as long ago as for some people. And so this was on my graduate recital, and we had a requirement of doing something very modern. And I really have always loved this piece. And I had never done the backgrounds myself. So I had chosen a whole bunch of them, and Sebastian put them together for me. And I started doing them after that. If I was to redo it, I used way too much footage, but still, it's cool. The beginning, especially. It's a really modern piece. It's a CD. I'm playing with a CD backing track in the recital hall. But when you're at the university, you've got a nice hall and you've got audio engineers to run that kind of thing for you. So this is at the recital. They're recording it, they're running audio for me. So I had a really good recording. It's the actual live performance from my degree. And it's a really cool piece. It's got an opening. Okay, so it's really out there. And it kind of represents man and technology and the fusion of man and technology. And that concept of like a little farmer over in Macedonia, tending to his sheep, but could be on his iPhone doing, his NASDAQ trades, that kind of.
I love it.
It's a juxtaposition of modern technology and just, humanity itself. And so after the initial soliloquy, which is just the clarinet, and that represents man, after that comes this Macedonian, Bulgarian folk music. And that's when it's gets the technology and man, fused together. Now, some people that don't play this music because it's written in 1995, and so you've got the old like modem and the sounds when you used to log on your computer, the handshake sound and all that.
Oh, I remember.
So people think it's dated. And I don't care because the music's so good. But when younger generation listen to it, they don't even know about all that. They're like, oh, it's cool space sounds. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, so they don't even know that's what it is.
They don't remember the depressing times of waiting to connect only to get disconnected immediately afterwards. Let's play the song. We'll come back. And now, folks, grab a drink, go chill out. This goes for about 10 minutes. So we're doing something a little bit different. Let's do it. This is Alt Music Ballistics. You ready? Let's Oja.
Login incorrect. Enter password and pound sign. Incorrect. Incorrect. Try again. Login incorrect. Enter password and pound sign. Login incorrect. Enter password and pound sign. Login incorrect. Enter password at any time. Press the login. Login incorrect. Contact administrator for help. Please disconnect.
Holy shit. That was insane.
I know, right? That was hard as hell.
So good. It's interesting. You know, you sent me this huge song list and I saw that one was like 10 minutes and I was like, 10 minutes, huh? And then I listened to it. No, I put it on, was like, oh my God, where have you been all my life, Cathy? I'm a big avant-garde, you know, noise, extremes, the stuff that is just not your normal. So, you know, lots of Japanese. I just love really strange stuff, and and when I heard that, I was like, wow! And I didn't expect it. This is the thing. I think, you know, you can't judge you can't judge a book by its cover ever, right? And I remember when I first saw you playing clarinet, and then I started going through your catalog and was like, holy hell, you have such a broad range of genres and talents and just really incredible stuff. And it had to be played on the show. It definitely had to be played. Just a stunning piece, really captivating.
Yeah, I don't get to do that kind of stuff anymore because, you know, you kind of have to have a certain set of circumstances. You need a recital hall and a team to run that, you know, to record it and run the audio and all that. And I don't have that. I mean, I'm DIY now. So, and it's such a fantastic piece. And that took so much work. So I'm like, hey, I'm playing it.
Yeah, you can tell it took a lot of work. Metal Happy says, now you know why I have a twinkle in my eye, Cathy. Dude, I know she rocks. It's just, you know, you never know until you delve into somebody's catalog and you fully go in there and have a look at it all. Let's say hello to folks who are here too. Now, if you want your name called out, make sure you type something so I can find you. And I don't have to scroll up and do too much work. Metalhead Hippies here, Mark Wade, Hugh Caldwell, David's here, Live to Fly channels, Kubrick Lover, Ali Legs is here, Barry Glenn, Thomas Christ, Hugh Caldwell. I saw Caldwell, there you are. We had Leanie here as well, Chris Lane Sr. Who else do I see? If you want me to call you out, because I can only go so far. Rise of Dark Leela. I know Russ is here. I saw him earlier. Let's see. I can come back down the bottom, see if anybody's written anything so I can catch you all. I think of most people typing stuff. There's Russ. Let's see if I can scroll down if there's any. I think I've got most people. If I've missed you out, type something and I can give you a shout. And we'll try and come back and catch people that I've missed as we go on. Let's continue on. So do you remember the first album that you purchased with your own pocket money, Cathy, and what was given to you as a gift?
Right. My first was, it was an actual record LP, and it was the Mozart Clarinet Concerto, Cleveland Orchestra, Robert Marcellus. He was the god of the clarinet at that time. And the flip side had some other Mozart 41st Symphony and a string serenade, something like that. And I would listen to that Mozart concerto. So my mother would always have me clean the basement. I had to do the floors and dusting and everything. And I would put that on and listen to it the entire time, just constantly. And after that, I think was a set of Brahms sonatas, might have been Mozart was the gift and I brought the Brahms sonatas, but stuff like that.
That kind of stuff too. I remember when I went to school, we got because I did singing more or less. That was my thing, and I was a singer, and I would watch people doing piano tutorials. I did a lot of music. I'm not the same as you, but I've got my degree and stuff and all that. Classically trained vocalist. And I would watch people, learning Mozart and stuff, and just be like, "Thank God I'm a singer."
It's really hard. It's so transparent. Like every phrase, so much could go wrong. To do it perfectly, you have to have the perfect attack in the middle of it, nothing go wrong, and the perfect taper out at the end. Or if it's articulated, it can't be too short. It can't be too, you know what I mean? It's so transparent.
So was clarinet the first instrument that you started to play? What was the first one that was in your hand that was it the recorder? Did you have to learn the recorder at school?
No, I wish I did though,
Oh,
because then
really?
when I was a teacher, I had a class of young students and I had to, they didn't give me any kind of curriculum. They're like, starting Monday, you have all these little kids and you're going to teach them music. And so I had to come up with a curriculum and I'm like, I'm going to teach them recorder. So I got one and I just like started learning it real fast. But as a kid, no, I didn't have access to, I didn't come from a musical family, but when I was in first, second, third, fourth grade, my family lived in Europe in Luxembourg and our apartment had a piano and nobody in my family knew how to use it or anything. And there was a lady that I don't know how my parents knew her, but she used to come over and give my sister and I piano lessons. And she didn't really speak English very much. I was like 5 or 6 years old, but I watched her a lot. And I was a little kid, they just, little kids just imprint. And when she'd leave, I'd start picking out what she was doing. And I was actually able to do the left and right hand together. I remember the first one I ever put together was that song Long, Long Ago. You know that one? Dun, da, da, dun, da, da, dun, da, da, dum. And I actually put the Alberti bass with it. The da dee da dee
Right.
da dee. And I was just like 5, but I mean, I couldn't understand her, but I watched what she did. And after she left, I just sat and picked it out till I could do it. And then my parents came in, they're like, how did you learn to do that? And why can't your sister do this? And so we didn't keep it up though. We just did it for a short period of time. I loved it. And then let's see, the next instrument, when we came back to the United States, I don't remember how this wound up in our basement, but it was a little toy piano. It was about, I don't know, this big, but it had full keys, black keys, everything. They all worked. You could do chords and everything. And every night after dinner, I'd go downstairs and pick out tunes on it all the time, just all the time. And then in 5th grade, I saw our band for the first time and I had lived in Europe. I didn't even know things like that existed. And I'm like, what the heck? I want to do that too. And that's how it started. I went home and like, can I play in the band? And they're like, no, nobody plays in the band in our family. And
God, that sounds like my family.
yeah, but they allowed me to. And my first clarinet teacher, though, he was a god. He taught at the university, and it was just like fate or whatever that he had a whole I call it a clarinet dynasty. The amount of players that came from Mr. Fitzer's studio. One of them in the Metropolitan Opera just retired and then passed away just in the last 5 years from the same studio I come from, principal clarinet of the Youngstown Symphony, principal clarinet of the West Point Band right now, associate principal of Pershing Zone right now. We all come out of Mr. Fitzer's studio. And that was my first clarinet teacher, the first person to, show me how to make the face and put the mirror in my face and all that.
Really? I want to know about, I love those little things. Like, so what is that method for people who don't know?
You mean of how to put our face?
Yeah, with the mirror. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got to shape the face first, the flat bottom lip, the chin, and the air not coming out the full length of the lips, but just only the front here, that kind of thing. Yeah, and I was just madly in love with him. He was like really cool. He had kind of longish hair, and he always wore like moccasins and purple jeans and whatever. He was real handsome. I was just like, oh, I was in sixth grade or fifth grade. I was 10 years old, whatever. And so I wanted to impress him, and I just practiced all the time. So my lessons were flawless.
My best singing teacher emptied a rubbish bin over my head. And I hated her for it. She was a biker. She came to our school. She thought I was disrupting the class, and I was the only person who could actually sing in my class. And she thought I was disrupting the class, but I wasn't. It was somebody else who threw a piece of paper at me. So she just looked at me, grabbed a bin, walked over and just emptied it over my head. And I called her a whole bunch of names in front of everybody, and she threw me out the class. But over time, I found out she was a biker and stuff, and she turned out to be one of my favorite singing teachers of all time because she was just, she just was she just wore who she was on the outside. And that's why we clicked, because I was the same as her. But what a great way to be introduced, to have rubbish tipped over your head. I cursed her and I called her every name under the sun. But it helps to have a good singing teacher. I've heard, so many people who got forced into piano lessons and things and had teachers that would hit them with rulers and they hated going there. How important is it to have a singing teacher that, you value and respect?
Or all our teachers. Yeah. Well, the teachers that value you and want you to develop you into your best you.
Yeah. Thomas says you wouldn't get away with that these days. Yeah, I know.
I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah, but it made me tough. I love it. Hello to Dom and Viv Sparrow who've joined us as well. Hello to you too. Look, I love teachers with a lot of spunk. So in school, early days of school, were you part of a small piece? Did you play in front of the school? Did you do any of that kind of stuff? I'm talking early school days.
No, I was in Europe. I mean, we sang songs, and a lot of them were like military songs, because being in Europe at that time, most of us were there because either our fathers were in the military or a company DuPont had opened a company over there. And so a lot of them were the kids of the DuPont people or the military officers.
Yep.
My dad was a Navy pilot. And so we learned to sing Anchors Away and the Army song and stuff like that in sixth grade or first grade, first, second, third, fourth grade.
So let's move on to the military. It's interesting, I've read your story, and I'll just give people a little insight. You're like sending me all this stuff, going, and this is when we're going to do this, and I'm like, wow, you really have come from a military background. You seem very regimented, and you know what you want, and yeah. So, and I get on here today and go, I just fly by the seat of my pants. Good luck with this today. Wherever it goes, it goes. But so what was that like? I'm guessing you moved around a lot as a kid, being a part of the military, and then that led to you joining the military, the US military field band. So tell us about that experience, moving around as a youngster and then moving into that field.
I mean, so yeah, we lived in, I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, so that's where I was actually born and all that. And then we moved to Europe. And then my dad went inactive reserve. This would have been during roughly the Cuban Missile Crisis time, more than World War II. It would have been more that time frame, and Panama, kind of that time frame. I'm going to say the beginning of Vietnam too would have been that time frame. But anyway, he also was, he went inactive reserve with the Navy. And then the company he worked for sent us other places too. We lived in Indiana briefly. We actually had a chance to go to Australia, and my dad wanted to take it so badly, but he also wanted us to have a stable life and grow up around our grandparents and uncles and cousins and all that. So we ended up got back to Youngstown and stayed in Youngstown. So we didn't really travel around too much there. Then let's see, I come from a really top-notch music program in my school. My high school band was like most people's college bands. And I mean, really, really good. And our band director, who was a former Navy band guy, was a percussionist in the Navy band, but he was our band director. He took us all to hear the Navy band from Washington. I was in like 10th grade and I was enthralled. All these clarinetists in uniform, and they could tongue so fast. And I was like, wow, they're so good, you know? And I had just gotten my driver's license and I knew how to drive to Standby or Auditorium and they were performing again that evening. So I asked my parents, could I go, you know? So I drove myself to Standby, but this time I went down and sat like right by the clarinetist so I could study them. And then like when you're a kid like that, you're kind of ferocious. And I'm thinking, you know, I can do everything they can do other than I can't tongue that fast, but I'm going to go home and teach myself to tongue that fast. But other than that, I could do anything they can do. So I could do this for a career. I was like 16 thinking this. So then I graduated from college. I was teaching privately a lot. And then, of course, I needed a job. And I didn't want to teach school. I had done student teaching and I didn't really want to teach school. So I remembered, you know, the Navy band. So I sent audition tapes so the bands in Washington, the Marine band, Army band, all that in Washington, those are like the premier assignments. You start at automatic E6 and you're a stabilized assignment. The rest of the bands in the military is when you're going to move around a lot and not have that as stringent of an audition procedure to win that kind of an audition. You're also not going to start at E6 if you make the other bands. So I was just laser focused. I'm going to be in one of the bands in Washington. I don't care which one. And none of them had openings at that time, but I sent stuff out to everybody. And then I talked to all the recruiters and well, long story short, I did eventually win the Army Field Band job in Washington, which is a touring job. You got Pershing Zone that stays inside the Beltway in DC, and the Army Field Band, kind of their sister organizations, tours the world, basically. So that's how that happened. I knew about it from my high school band director. I got out of college. I wanted a job. I wanted money. I wanted to play the clarinet. And so I found a way to do both.
I wanted money. I love it. That's the thing. For people who want to do stuff, like if you really want it, you have to throw everything at it. It just won't come to you. It won't fall in your lap. You have to give every moment of your being to this, and it will come to you. You will achieve it. Every person who has achieved success has thrown everything they have at it. And that just is the truth. You won't get anywhere if you just half-ass throw your way at it. I want to ask you something, just for those.
I was going to back on it. I didn't have a plan B. I was that laser focused.
Yep.
I mean, every day. I mean, practiced so much. I have no words for it. But anyway, go ahead.
Just so people want to know, what is tonguing? Because now,
okay.
I've worked in the sex industry and I think it's something completely different.
Okay, possibly a similar technique.
I had to go there.
So if we were to blow a steady airstream and just move our fingers, it would be all connected together, right? But if we can use our tongue to separate, and you can do that short, fast, short or long. You can get different lengths and vary the length of the notes that way, but it's interrupting the airstream. But you can do it really rapidly. There's people who double and triple tongue and can do it extremely rapidly.
Your focus should be to notice which part of your tongue is hitting the reed. Your tongue should tap the reed from the underside near the tip of the reed. Your tongue should feel flat, not curved, upwards, and you should feel the end of the reed really close to the end of your tongue. You should be able to feel this when it's correct, as it will prickle or tickle your tongue.
There you go. I never thought of that, the prickle or tickle, but I may add that into my teaching.
That was a random Google search, but it's fascinating because I have I have this. I don't even have it here. I tried to pick up a reed instrument. It's like a cross between a. It's not really an instrument. It's like a. It looks like a clarinet, but it sounds like a saxophone. It's one of these newfangled things. I bought it for $100 off some Chinese website anyway, but it was so hard to understand how to get the reed to make sound, and I felt so bad for my neighbours. I think that's what drove him crazy, the neighbour, and the violin that I was learning as well.
It helps to have a teacher that knows all those kinds of things, you know?
Yeah, I was watching YouTube, so that really didn't help me. We're going to talk about the military stuff. Well, let's play another track. We're at our halfway point, so I'll just run the ad. We need to run our ad. If you are familiar with this show, halfway through the show, we run an ad from YouTube, and I'll run the ad. If you want to avoid the ad, you can just skip the ad. Or become a YouTube premium subscriber. And while I'm waiting for that to come, those to come back, we just do a quick ad of what's coming up. I don't think I have the flyer. Tomorrow we're taking a look at something that I wanted to do a fair while ago, and it's not music related. It's actually video game related because recently on iOS, a whole bunch of video game emulators have come out for Nintendo and PlayStation and all this stuff. And we're going to be taking a look tomorrow at PP, SSPP, and RetroArch all in one show, and try and show you how to set it up so you can download all your favorite games and play them on your iPad or your iPhone. That's happening tomorrow. This week also will be the opening hour, and I'm going to do something crazy. We're going to do a mega list of covers. I'm going to put up 100 covers, and you have to force me to sing all these songs that I struggle with singing. So you get to control me, make me your puppet, and hurt me. I know people love causing pain to me, so why not do that? So that's what's coming up over the next couple of days. And I think on the rant this week, we're doing something about how to prepare for recording an album and get ready to record an entire album, and what you need to do so you have a consistent sound all the way through your album. There's that. Let's play this track now, because I've been looking forward to playing this one. This is the I Prelude. Do you want to tell us about the theme from a Psycho that we're about to hear?
Yeah, that's a 1950s movie. And I did it for, I like to do themed videos. I love to do Halloween, St. Patrick's Day, Christmas. I am known for my themed videos. And also, I'll point out that we're going to talk about the acapella app down the road here on our show. But so I did a whole bunch, kind of like the alt.music.ballistics of former tracks I'd recorded that we put backgrounds with it. There's a phase of that if you were to go from my early videos through. We hit the pandemic, and so I really couldn't play together that much in ensemble. And that's when I started doing a lot of these a cappella videos with my girlfriends. And Psycho's one of them. I did the arrangement on this. It was for Halloween. And so I wrote this. And so when you're looking at it, not only is it done in a cappella and you see how the squares are, and it's also an early experiment on seeing if we could green screen with the a cappella app. And so that's also what's going on. This was first attempt at green screening with it. And I have an editor sometimes I use when things are over my head, and he did the background on this one, and I think a really cool job on it. So you can kind of get a little bit of the actual film is in this video.
Awesome. Let's play it. You ready, guys? Let's go. Let's do it now. Boom. That was sick. Oh, bringing back all the nightmares as a kid watching that movie. Did that movie mess you up when you were younger?
I never saw it. I
Really?
didn't see it until I was working on this, and I thought, well, I better watch at least some of it.
Oh God, it's a terrifying movie. You know,
It looks like it.
yeah, and compared to today's movies, where everything's blood and guts and stuff, sometimes it doesn't need to be that to really shock you. Just a beautiful rendition. I mean, there was absolutely note perfect, fantastic stuff. Really, really cool. So let's talk about the military. Let's continue on. So getting into that. I'm guessing, it's a military, very, you have to be very organized, very militant in what you do. Is there a huge number of songs you have to learn? What's the catalog? Is it massive? And let's cover that first. What's the catalog? How long does it take to learn it? Is it huge? How many songs?
Oh, well, we went on concert tour 3 times a year.
Right.
Long one in the spring and fall, anywhere from 30 to 40 days. And summer tour was maybe around 3 weeks. And each concert tour, we would take 4 programs, full 2-hour programs, 4 of them. So how much music is that? 16 or so pieces per show.
Right.
We would have a month or 2 to learn it and back out on the road. Of course, some of it was always the same, of course, national anthem,
Yep.
and then close out with Stars and Stripes, Armed Forces medley, all that kind of stuff. So some of it was the same, but in between. And then we also traveled with the Soldiers Chorus. And so we would do, the middle of the show was like a cut down musical. We did all of them, South Pacific and I don't know, Oklahoma, just any musical, West Side Story, anything you could name. We did cut down musicals with the chorus. And so that's a whole nother, so yeah, it was a lot of music, 4 of those per tour, 3 times a year. Thousands and thousands of pieces.
Were there any big occasions that you played for? Anything to do? Did you play for some while there was military actions going on? Did you go out and have to play for soldiers out in the field? This is all new to me. I just want to know all about it.
Right. So the premier bands, we did all the inaugurations. And I'm trying to think how many inaugurations I did. It was, I want to say Bush, Clinton.
Wow.
I forget who all I did. 2 Bushes, Clinton, and who was the last one? Maybe Bush was the last one. So whoever was before that. So things like that. Yeah, we did. So we did World War II commemoration stuff in Europe. So we went over in, that must have been like 94, I want to say, or 90. What is it? Yeah, 94. So that would have been the 50th commemoration, I think, of the World War II stuff. We did, Battle the Bulge and played for people and troops over there. Then we also went over to Hawaii to do Veterans Japan Day. Bill Clinton took us over with him to do that. And so that ceremony was intense. That was a joint forces thing. And on stage with us, besides that the band is over here, well, it was a cut down band, but I got to play the job. It wasn't our full band. The full band was over there, but on the gig, this ceremonial gig, it was Bill and Hillary. Hillary was there, and Bob Hope and astronaut Jim Lovell. And they all did speeches and stuff. And
Wow.
at the end, Bill Clinton walked over and he said, "Hi, band." Because, he fancies himself a sax player and everything.
I was going to ask, did he get up and have a little play with you? No.
Yeah. And then there was a time in the 90s where we were having some kind of trade. It's hard for me to remember all of it, but trade something else going on with India. So we'd gone over to India for 2 weeks of goodwill mission kind of stuff. And one day we had to go to one of the palaces and we did a private performance for Gandhi, the son, who then was assassinated like within that same, right? But he literally walked through the band like we're performing. We had to pretend, we couldn't look at him. We had to pretend like we're playing, continue to play. But he would walk through the band as we're playing. And a lot of these are like super high security. Like we have to get there hours early. And then you have to put your clarinets or trombone, whatever, on a chair and open the case. And then everybody has to leave the area. And then they go through with the dogs and the bomb detectors and all that kind of stuff. Then we have to come back and, get frisked and everything. And then you go play the concert.
That is
That's what
so
that-
awesome. Like, so you literally played in the inauguration of 3 presidents.
Or four, I can't remember.
Holy shit.
I might have to check. I have to check my wall in the other room.
All right, so I just need to ask this. Was Donald Trump's inauguration bigger than them?
I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't watch his inauguration. I'm really embarrassed to say that. I should have. I get a little emotional though, because I used to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That just, I can't even imagine, the biggest thing I've ever done is play a gig in front of 70,000 people. I thought that was the pinnacle of I still think that's amazing. But to do something so important, to to bring in the new president and play the music like that, just incredible, and you're so humble and sweet, and it's just amazing. It blows me away.
Well, one of my favorite jobs that we got to do, we're on a spring tour. This is after 9/11, and we were, kind of locked down a little bit for a while after 9/11, a week or two. And then we did a concert tour to Alaska, like 2 weeks in Alaska. And I didn't know Jeff at that time, I would have waved. But we went to Anchorage, a few days in Anchorage, a few days in Sitka. Sitka was my favorite. Fairbanks, Juneau. And then we had to take C-130s to Barrow, Alaska, which is inside the Arctic Circle, and you can only get there via plane or boat or snowmobiles or something like that. And it's mostly like Inuit Indians up there, but they're extremely patriotic. And so we did goodwill tours all over Alaska during that time. And then after that, we went on a spring tour. So fast forward a couple months. So the Alaska tour was in October, so within a month of 9/11. And the security, getting through the airplane lines with the amount of equipment we traveled with like the Grateful Dead sound system and equipment, right? Luggage and everything. It takes a lot to get it. We'd have to get there like 5 hours in advance for them to, for TSA. It was trying to, do these new procedures. And we get this gigantic group coming through. But anyway, after that, we went on the road in the spring. That was a Southern tour. And we were in Nashville. And we shot a country video at the Wild Horse Saloon. And that's where most country videos are shot. And it's all set up for it. It's really cool there. I've never done anything like it. And we did a video. It was called Celebrate the Stars and Stripes. And it was Pam Tillis, Mel Tillis's daughter, as far as country stars. And there was a guy, what was his name? Stars and Stripes and Eagles Fly. I can't think, he was a really big country star at that time. I don't know, a whole bunch of country stars. I still have a DVD of that time. But anyway, so we filmed this really elaborate patriotic show with these. Does somebody know who did Stars and Stripes and Eagles Fly?
Yeah, I think you're thinking that we're all cultured here.
Well, anyway, we did this amazing show, and then it was aired for about a week on, I forget which channel, TNN or anyway, it was on TV for like over a week. And actually, when it first came out, we shot it and everything. I was home from tour when they put it together. It's a fantastic video. I love watching it still. But my boyfriend and I were out at a bar shooting pool and having a few beers. And we sat down at the bar and it came up on the TVs. And then some of the people in the bar going, "Look, it's Cathy on TV."
So cool. Did you have did you have Secret Service with you or anything? Did you have protection as well? I mean,
Yeah, sometimes, like when we did, like when we went with Bill Clinton to Hawaii. Yeah, it was a secret. They're all over the place. And actually, when 9/11 happened, we worked at Fort Meade, and that's where the National Security Agency is. And so that place is more loaded with Secret Service than you would think. It's just that you don't ever see them
yeah.
really. That day when they were evacuating us from Fort Meade, specifically because the National Security Agency's there, and that would have been a likely possible target. Thank God it wasn't. But anyway, you saw a lot of them that day passing them. They were all lined down the road in suits and, talking to their watches and stuff.
Wow.
So, and then of course, all the inaugurations are just lined with police and Secret Service all the time.
So, like you think about a regular gig and even just playing in front of a huge. How do you prepare for something like that? For playing for something like an inauguration, are you nervous before you go on? Like, are you shitting yourself?
No, not really.
Wow.
I guess when you do that for a living, you're so accustomed to just, you're almost like robots. You know what I mean? The downbeat comes and you just play. And it's always the same marches for those kinds of things. And the other thing is it's in January and it's in Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, which is like a wind tunnel, right?
Right.
And you're just freaking cold. You get there hours and hours in advance, right? And you're on the bus for a while, and that's like the saddest words in the world are like everyone has to get off the bus, and you go holding pen to holding pen till you get to where it's going to step off, which isn't for like 4 more hours. And it's just porta potties and whatever. And you've got those, those chemical shake 'em up hand warmers are in your gloves,
Yeah.
in your pockets, socks, and you're just freaking freezing.
Wow.
That's what it's like. And you just can't wait till that time they say, get ready to step off. You just can't wait. And then it goes so fast down Pennsylvania Avenue and you make the turn and it just goes so fast. And then you just can't wait to get back on the bus.
Just incredible stuff. So, how long were you a part of this?
Well, pretty much 21 years if you figure training time, like basic training and things like that. So like 21 years. And then some of the other highlights for me was in the summers, we've got to play with the Boston Pops sometimes, the Cincinnati Pops, Detroit Pops. So I got to play for stars like Doc Severinsen, Gladys Knight, Rosemary Clooney. I can't remember. We played for a whole lot of stars doing that kind of stuff.
And have you got to rub shoulders with these people? Get to meet them? Do they come up to you and praise you and say you're amazing?
Doc Severinsen is the main one because he was in the Navy and in a Navy trumpet player for years. So he loved when we would be there. Yeah, Doc Severinsen would hang out with the trumpet players all the time, was on a first name basis with them. People like Gladys Knight, not so much. Miss America, not so much. Rosemary Clooney, no, she was in those days. Do you remember later in her life? I hope it's okay to say this. She was gigantic, I mean, huge. And she had to be like escorted onto stage and everything, because she was like, I mean, she still sang amazing, but so not always were they too friendly. But some of the other clarinetists, like the other principal clarinetists or the other clarinetists in the Detroit Symphony, Cincinnati Symphony, all that, yeah, they would come hang out with us.
It blows my mind that someone so talented like yourself has done all these amazing things, and we get to hang out with you every week on the Metalhead Hippie Show. You know what I'm saying? We should be worshipping you, for God's sake. All right, let's play another song because we got 3 more to play, and we got to get off. We got to get off on time because Pete's following us. So we're going to play "The River Flows in You," and then we'll come back and talk about it. So we'll play this now. You ready, my friends? Let me get it all queued up. Make sure got my studio bizzo worked out, my one job that I have to do. Let's play this. The River Flows in You. Let's go. so beautiful. I miss Ingo so much.
Thinking the same. I was thinking I think a bunch of people in the chat have also worked with him.
Yeah.
Maybe put a one in the chat if you've worked with Ingo too. We can see who all here.
Yeah, many
is-
people have. I interviewed him on here. I'm guessing, I'm just guessing he's back to work. What he used to do was do sound for big concerts and all that stuff. I'm just guessing the world opened. I interviewed him when, we were going through the lockdowns and all that stuff. I forever wanted to be in one of his covers as well. I was desperate to be in one of his covers and it never happened. But he took one of my performances and added instrumentation to one of my songs. That was, for me, even better than being in a cover. He took my original music. It's such a great honor to work with him. Tell us about your experience working with Ingo.
Oh, it was amazing. Well, I had been seeing him, do stuff with some of our friends. By then, I knew a lot more of the people we know now, and of course, mostly I knew him again because of Mark, because I follow Mark and we're friends. And Mark had said to me, "You should do something with Ingo," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if he would do something with me." And he's like, "Ask him," so I did. And I was so surprised that Ingo said, "Okay, what do you want to do?" And I already had in mind this piece in advance. I fell in love with this piece the first time I heard it. I heard it actually at a spa. I was getting a facial and it was like in the background. There was Yoruba's music. And I fell in love with it. And I'm like, quick, ask Alexa what this piece is, so I could write it down and go study it and pull and so I was working on it. I'd created a part for it and I was going to looking to do with the backing track. And then somehow this all happened and I asked Ingo, and then he created this masterpiece orchestration. And I went into the studio, recording studio to do it. I work for 2 recording studios. One's here in town. So that recording studio, James Jose's recording studio. And it was really nice for me to have somebody else run the backing track so I could really focus on playing. And also one of the things that makes this one just memorable for me is that during the pandemic, the end of 2020, I had been getting sicker and sicker and sicker with symptoms that nobody was putting together. This continued into 2021, and I think this was done in 2022. And this continued. I was getting sicker and sicker and nobody could find it till early 2022, till I wound up in the hospital. And then they realized I had this tumor. And so I was already in negotiations for this. So I was like, I've got to record the audio before surgery.
Right.
Because I wasn't sure if after surgery, how long it would take me to get back on my feet. So I literally got the audio done. It was 1 or 2 days before I went into surgery. And then as soon as I recovered, which was around, 2 or 3 weeks, then I went on to location to the Lafayette River. I had already found this location and shot all the footage for it. I went there with my little stand, and set it up.
Awesome. Awesome.
Got this done. And so Ingo had to go on hold for a couple weeks because of this,
So you leave the military Army Field Band after 21 years of being involved, and then you go and get a master's degree. You become an instructor at the Governor's School of Arts, and you become a founding member of Grenazill's Clarinet.
Granazilla.
How do I say it?
Granazilla.
Granazilla Clarinet
So
Quartet. Tell us about this journey.
Okay, so so I had come here to Norfolk partially to teach for the military. I was teaching the Armed Forces School of Music that teaches the regular Army, Navy, and Marine musicians is in this town. So I was actually teaching in Central Virginia at an all-boys boarding school, a military academy, for, let's say, well, there was some really great overachiever kind of boys there, but for the most part, for the boys that were in a lot of trouble and thrown out of every other school. But I got along with them really well, and the band was great. I had a great time with the kids there. So I was doing that, playing with the symphony there, and coming here to teach in the summers. And the third summer, I just ended up staying here in Norfolk, Virginia. And I had a GI Bill left from 9/11. I had post 9/11 GI Bill. So I thought, well, a good way to work myself into the music community here would be to use it to get my master's degree. So that's what I did. And then just almost immediately when I moved here, I got asked to teach for the Governor's School for the Arts. And I'm still doing that. I just finished up last Thursday. So I've been teaching there a long time. And then, 7, 8 years ago, I guess it was, that principal clarinetist of the Virginia Symphony, Patty Carlson, who's in the classical gas video, she retired from the symphony. She's pretty much my best friend in this town. And both of us wanted something else to do. So I was telling her my idea about writing rock stuff and try to do something completely different and go to the conferences and all that. She was like, sure, I'll do it. So, and she was recently retired. So she and I started that path together. And then we played a number of the conferences together. And I began uploading these videos to Facebook, and then Mark got me into YouTube and all that. That's the sequence of how that went. But the pandemic pretty much knocked us out of that. And when the pandemic was over, it was really hard to get people together to rehearse and record and stuff like that. And that's how I ended up going to a cappella, because I still wanted to play and do collaborations with my girlfriends and write music and whatever. But I couldn't get it going in person again.
I'm just bringing up the photo. Here's the quartet. And you've got a number of videos of the quartet on your channel, don't you?
I do. Yep.
And so is this still a thing? This is still going now or not?
No, we're not back together. Patty and I are still hanging out together because we're in this town. Chris Nichols, he's a clarinet teacher at the University of Delaware. He's on sabbatical. He's traveling the world. My girlfriend, Jean, she was in the Army with me. She's pretty much my best friend in my Army years. She's up in New Jersey and just too busy to travel back and forth. So we're not back up and running at the moment.
Is it hard to keep together with, say, a group of such talented and learned artists? I can only speak from just a rock and roll band thing where untrained people, it's hard enough trying to organise that, get a rehearsal room for $60 a week and someone's got a drug problem or something like that, or their girlfriend's an idiot. But with trained artists like this, how hard is it to maintain and keep together these things?
Really, really hard. This is not my first attempt. When I got out of the military and I was still in the Baltimore, Washington area with my ex, I had another group called La Forza, with the FOUR for four, La Forza.
Yep.
And that was a very successful group. And that all blew up just from infighting. And one of the other members of the group had a desire to take it over, even though I was a founding member and the person with all the ideas.
What?
As it got successful, she wanted to take over the group and oust me. And I was just so busy teaching at that time, playing with the symphony. Sometimes you just don't have time to fight these kind of battles. You know what I mean? I had this really big job at the military academy. I had a huge job, high paying job. She's teaches part-time, and her husband had the big job. And she had all the time in the world to create these problems. And I just kind of dropped out. I just didn't have time to fight this.
So it's still the same shit, just in a different bucket.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they just ended up folding anyway, because I was the idea person to begin with. And once I wasn't there anymore, it's like, okay, she became the leader of the group, but she didn't have any ideas.
See, I see this, there's a lot of, as you said, this is your life. This is what you wanted to do. This is what you followed. You've put everything into this, and so would have all of these other musicians that you've played with. These are accomplished musicians who've dedicated their time. Does ego creep into this as well? Because, it's such I would guess, very competitive to try and be a part of a big band or whatever it is. How are the egos, and how do you deal with them, and how do you control your own ego at the same time?
Yeah, it's really problematic. The last one, Grenadilla is the last one, and was a little bit more successful than La Forza. That hung together pretty well. But yeah, we did have those kinds of issues. I kind of took a role this time of I'm the person who set it up, found a location, time, all those kinds of the details, wrote the music, did the paperwork for our conferences and stuff. So I let the other people, when it came to the rehearsals, I wanted them to feel vested. And so I kind of let them take that role. And to me, hands down, Patty Carlson, principal clarinetist of the Virginia Symphony, was hands down the best player of the group. I defer to her all the time. In fact, she's still who I'll call up, and if I'm recording something, I may send it to her and say, hey, what do you think about, what should I do here? You know, more of this, more of that. What do you do? You know, what fingerings might you use here? She and I will still call each other up all the time for that kind of thing. So I just took that kind of a role in this time, but it was really the pandemic why we couldn't keep going.
Right. My current partner, she is a vocalist. I'm not going to go into too much, but with a really huge choir, and gets to play with symphonic orchestras and stuff and travel around the world. And I'm in awe of her. She's probably going to see this and say, stop blowing smoke up my ass. But she says the same thing to me. She thinks I'm really good, but I am blown away by the dedication it takes to be a part of these things. Like I see, she sent me a video of her performing with the Sydney Orchestra and stuff, and I'm just like, I can't imagine being that dedicated and that, like, how much pressure there must be to and to, you know, maintain all these egos. She reckons that's the reason I asked you this. She reckons some of the egos within the symphony orchestra and stuff is just scary, really scary stuff.
At least you got a conductor there that's going to make the ultimate,
Yeah.
you know, decision on it. When you got a group like this, it's got to be worked out. And sometimes people have a different interpretation of how long or short something should be, or the importance of their part at that time versus somebody else's. And yeah, it can get nasty.
So here I also have listed here. So you perform with Tidewater Winds, WD Packard Band, Amiga Recording Studios, Washington Winds, Sound Surge Recording Studio, among other groups. Are you still really active in all these? Like, do you have right now, can you count on two hands all the things that you're doing, or is it more than two hands of what you're doing? How busy are you doing this stuff?
Right now, I have 3 or 4 weeks that I'm not too busy, but when we hit July, Tidewater Winds starts up, and that'll be at least 4 days, if not 5 days a week for 3 weeks straight. And then after that, school starts back. Governor's School is going to start back up. And then also in the fall, I have a whole bunch of puppet shows I'm playing. I play the Rainbow Puppets, and we do shows for school kids. And oh yeah, there we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah, I'm like next to the guy. Yeah, there I am, second chair there. I'm the assistant principal.
Hang on, I can't find you. Are you right at the front? Where are you?
I don't know how to point. Do you see the guy with the white hair in the, okay. To the left of the flowers, the guy, there you go. You have the dot right on me.
Right on you, right there. Wow, look at this, everybody. How cool is this?
Yep. So I'll be doing that for almost the whole month of July. So Jeff, if I'm not there on Sundays, I've got 3-hour rehearsal and 2-hour concert every Sunday of July practically. And then October and November, some puppet shows, backing up the Rainbow Puppets with part of a cut down version of this group. And then I never know what I've got with recording studio stuff. That just comes up when it comes up, but that's like my favorite thing to do. I could do recording studio stuff all day long.
So I have a friend who studied to be a conductor, and I remember when I was young, he was doing that, and me and him have a band. We play really obnoxious noise and stuff because he loves doing all the conductor stuff, but he loves the really obnoxious stuff. It's like he needs the break from all that. How hard is it to follow a conductor? Like, I've been to many symphonies and watched, and I always get fascinated watching the conductor and going, but what does any of this mean? I don't know what he's doing. Because
Yeah.
they all would have their own interpretations and stuff, and their own flair and their own characteristics. Is it hard to go between different conductors and get a grip with what their individual quirks are?
It just depends on the conductor. It's truly, some of them are like, madmen up there,
Right.
and what they're doing, and they're flailing around, the batons behind their back, underneath, all over, and you're trying, like, what the hell, so you try not to look. But then there's some that are so good, and they're so, expressive, and they're going to like look right at you and give you your cue, and they really know the music. There's some fabulous ones out there, and everything in between. Honestly, I've been doing this so long, I don't really need them. Just give me a downbeat, and I'm like an automaton. I've been doing this so long. Just give me a downbeat. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, because you've got your music in front of you too. So do you pay that much attention to the conductor, or are you just focused on your sheet music?
It's a combination.
Right.
It's certain transitions, of course, starting the piece and transitions into a different tempo or fermatas or that kind of thing. I kind of got to look. But then, it's always a joke among the musicians, like during the breaks and whatever. They're like bitching about the conductor. He did this, he did that. And then we're like, why are you looking? That's just a regular joke.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the same with like everyday life. I don't like this person because they do this thing. Then why are you hanging out with them? Like,
Yeah, right. And so that goes on all the time.
yeah, yeah, right.
And also, they talk, a lot of them just talk interminably. I'm going to do this here and this here. Just show us, you know what I mean? Just conduct it. I don't tell us, don't spend 5 minutes telling me what you're going to do. Just do it,
Just wave your arms, dude. I'm the one creating the music, bitch.
That's a thing that they need to remember. That baton makes no sound. It's all us.
Yeah, bitch. I love it.
Yeah, we have to show them too. We've done that before. This is how you show them who's boss. Is that it has to be kept absolutely silent, but it'll go around the musicians that in one of the pieces we're not taking one of the repeats, but the conductor's not allowed to know, right? And we'll keep it between us. But then when we play the piece, we'll play it like that. He'll be ready to go back and we'll move on. And then they remember, this makes no sound. He needs our support, right?
So it's a revolt.
Yes, that's like a musician revolt there.
I love it. I love it that it goes on. That's so cool. Let's play another song, and then we'll talk about some apps that you use to make stuff. Of course, we don't have all the time to get through. I mean, you're such an accomplished artist, and most people can see this. And I'm going to say this now. I implore every one of you, go through Cathy's YouTube channel and just immerse yourself in it. There's so much incredible stuff there. You'll be blown away. Let's play this track here. This is Jazz Variations. We'll come back and talk about it. And because we've got one more song to play to close out the show. Let's do this now. So thank you all for still being here, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show. Hit the like if you are, and all that kind of jazz. Remember, you can super chat if you want, a super sticker, all that kind of stuff. Let's play this song and let's do it now. Jesus Christ. That was incredible. Incredible stuff. So talented. So talented. Let's jump across to some apps that you use to make your videos and stuff, because you've got a list of them here. I think the first one's called Acapella. Do you want to tell us about this while I bring it up on my screen?
Sure. And so I think you all saw that that's the one with the little blocks, and it makes it really easy to do collaborations. You can see the blocks, and Psycho was done that way. And there's really a lot I like about Acapella. You know, it's got an audio editor built inside, so you can adjust like if one voice is too loud or too soft, something along those lines. You can put some reverb in, you know, adjust that type of thing. You can even adjust intonation. It's got frames to, you know, you can choose different frames. There's filters. I don't do a lot of filtering, but there are some that I've done that with. And then we found out you can green screen with it. My current favorite thing to do though with Acapella was I learned that I could upload a backing track into one of those blocks and play on the other side.
Right.
And then, right. So, and so it started with piano, and it was like, I was so excited when I could do that, because like, I didn't need anybody, because like, I don't have a hall right now, and I don't want to keep hiring a pianist and make every project I do, you know, $500 between the pianist and the hall.
Yeah.
I want, you know, I'm mostly a do-it-yourself artist. So, so I can upload ensemble, you know, whatever the backing track is into that other side, and then play on the other side. Another thing you can do is as you go through the templates and choose, you know, your template size and all that, or how many blocks you need. Let's say you have a really large collaboration of like 15 people. What you can do is once you get to, let's say, 5 of the blocks done, save it, and you can upload that whole group of 5 into one block. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then record around it and have then, you know.
Another one you're using is InShot. What's drawn you to InShot?
I love InShot. Well, that's I really was not good at titling for the longest time. I could only do it for the longest time I only edited in iMovie on iPad, and you're limited on your titles. And then at InShot, you can do titling. What I liked also was how I started using InShot was I wanted snow in one of my videos, and I didn't know how to make snow. So that's how I started using InShot, is I could make it snow. Then it turns out I could do fireworks, I could do lightning. Then I learned that I could title things. InShot, there is so much you can do in that I haven't even learned to do yet. And then also in their gifts and stickers, There's some really cool stuff. Like when I did the video Cat and Mouse, I was able to put Tom and Jerry in the video with me. They're animated and they're like in the video with me. And I'm like, it looks so cool. Like literally looks like Tom and Jerry are in my apartment. And so that was really a cool effect. But you can do backgrounds, filters, trim, split. You can fuse your audios together. There is so much you can do in InShot that I've barely even touched on yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you looked at CapCut?
What's it called again?
CapCut. CAPCUT. Here it is on the screen. I did a show on it recently. CapCut is just amazing and it's free. And there is a subscription, but pretty much so much of the stuff, very similar to InShot, probably got a lot more filters and stuff in it. So it's pretty damn cool. Let's jump to another one. So you've sent me here, pick, play, post.
Okay. Pick, play, post. If you're a person that uses acapella, and that's probably the app I use the most because I can put together backing tracks or ensembles and myself so fast, right? And so accurately. And so it's part of that suite of apps that go together. And what you can do with Pick, Play, Post is that you can take two videos and fuse them together, or pictures and video. You can do multimedia is what I use that for. And again, you can do, borders and, fancy it up, filters, all that kind of stuff. But I specifically use it for putting together things like one of my videos. I didn't end up using it as I originally did it, but I had the piano and the clarinet done, and I wanted to put rain on the other side in a storm with the rain sounds and everything. And I didn't know how to do that, but I was able to do that in Pick, Play, Post and have a rain video on one side and me playing on the other side, and you could hear the rain and everything. So that's what I like about Pick, Play, Post is you can fuse together multimedia.
And Note Flight. This is a cross-platform, I do believe. This is Note Flight. So obviously we've got composing stuff.
So this is my choice of my music notation software when I have to write parts, and very often it's transposing parts for me. And I do the premium. And I was telling Jade what I like about it is that once you log in, your scores are stored in Note Flight itself. Unlike Finale, when you have them all on your computer. Now, I know a lot of people like having them all on their computer too, but all I have to do is log in. Forever, they're going to be in my catalog on there. And also you can log in, on your phone, on your iPad, on your computer, wherever you are. You could work on something. You don't have to take your computer with you everywhere to work on something. You can work on it wherever you are. And another thing I really like about it is that, so a lot of people that write have a keyboard that's plugged in to their computer, and they need all kind of whatever else to make it work. And I'm very low tech. Note Flight has a piano keyboard built in that you can turn off and on. So I can turn it on and go right through the keyboard.
Got
and
its own
play.
MIDI. Yep. It's good. I love it when they have their own MIDI in there, especially ones that give you a little bit more than a piano, like some instruments. They're not amazing sounding, but you don't need like, the London Symphony Orchestra sound.
I'm just inputting notes at that point,
Absolutely.
And as long as you don't have to change the rhythm value, like let's say you have a long string of 16th notes, I can play that so fast and put that in so fast. But now if you have, quarter note followed by half note followed by eighth note, you're going to have to change the rhythm each time. But it's still pretty fast to do it that way.
And one of the other ones here, which I've covered here on the show, is AnyTune Pro. I can recommend this one. I've done multiple shows on this. Great for transposing, speeding up stuff, splitting audio. There's so much you can do with this one.
That app. I use that quite a bit. I use that especially for practicing. Something like that Jazz Variations, that Eddie Daniels piece, that was so much technique and so fast. So I could put it into any tune and slow it down and learn it really well under tempo and gradually bring it up to tempo. So I use any tune to practice really, really a lot.
Yeah, look, it's really good for guitarists as well too, to slow things down, guitar solos, learn that real nice and slow. It's a fantastic app. So I've used this a bunch and did a really favorable show of it. We are almost at the end. We've got to get out of here. I know it's gone so quick. There's so much more I could talk to you about, and I'm sure at some stage you will come back because we do the creator rewinds and bring people back after a period of time. So we'll have you back. We'll talk more. Now, as I said, all of Cathy's links are in the description. Go and subscribe to her. Make sure you do all of that. Now, because you've done some amazing collabs with people, we saw Black Covers. You've also done, let me bring up my screen here. And we didn't have time to play this, but also we've got stuff with Colourful Energy. Yeah, so you've done, you've done stuff with Colourful Energy. So go and check out those songs here. And obviously don't have time to play all this stuff. But I love these with your little dancing characters. Colourful Energy is wild to work with. I would love to work with Colourful Energy. She knows her green screen stuff very well. She's an amazing artist as well.
Absolutely. One of my favorites.
Yeah. So make sure you go and check out all that. Let me give you the final question before we go out with your final song today. And also, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story with all of us. I'm just in awe. I had no idea from the first time I saw you playing along the clarinet. I was like, I wonder, what's going on? Who is this person? And just I'm not worthy. I look up to you. I think you're an incredible artist, very talented, very dedicated. Everything that I look for in a musician, you are like up there with, all the really crazy artists like John Zorn and all these just inspirational artists. I think you're incredible. So that's from the bottom of my heart. You are magical.
I was so honored you asked me. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you sure you want me?
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I knew there was like all this backstory. I knew there was something in there for you to be so talented, but then finding it all out it's just been incredible to read and be able to find all this out. Like, yeah, you are upper echelon musician. Like when I had Ingo on, like Ingo is another one of those people just like, oh my God.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm going to hit you with our final question we throw at everybody. It's a trick question. It's a really hard one, this one. Cathy, if you were giving advice to somebody just starting out making music or wanted to follow their passion, whatever it is, when would be the best time for them to start?
The younger, the better.
Absolutely. What if they're old?
I actually have had some adult students. You want to be the best you that you can be. And that's different levels for everybody.
Yep.
And so if I have a 70-year-old student and he plays something beautifully and with a beautiful sound and expression and maybe not so much technique, that's a success to me.
Yeah. Follow your passions, folks, and throw everything at it. That's the most important thing. Like just go for it and it will come. I just can't say it enough. One of my music teachers told me from the very beginning, you are not going to do anything relevant in music if you do not throw your entire heart, soul, mind, everything at this, your body. Even if you're on stage and you throw your body at the floor and break your arm, convict. Just be in the moment, just 100%, and you will achieve what you want, whatever it is that you want. This is, we're playing Chromatic Tango. Do you want to tell us about this? It's a short piece to go out. What is this all about? Now, it's got Andy Firth on it. Oh, it's Andy Firth composed and arranged?
Australian jazz clarinetist Andy Firth that I'm friends with. So he writes a lot of cool stuff. And I like to do stuff, I don't always like to do just standard clarinet repertoire. I want to do stuff that swings, rocks, dances, whatever. And also, I'm trying to learn a better video editing program. I'm trying to learn DaVinci Resolve now. So I'm always looking for projects to use some of my new skills. And so this also represents me trying to, up my game a little bit as far as editing. So, but I just love the piece. No, Andy sent me like 11 tangos. I'm like 3. This is about my 3rd one. So I've got like 8 more tangos to do.
Lovely. Check out CapCut before you get to Resolve. Trust me, you will fall. CapCut's amazing. This is Chromatic Tango. Thank you, everybody who's been here in the chat. Love you lots. Remember, do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better. We'll all rise together and stay awake. Please stay on the call till after the show ends so I can say goodbye to you off the air, Cathy. Let's do this. Pete Johns is up next. I'll bounce you over there. This is the Chromatic Tango. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.